So I'm gonna let this video serve as my last will and testament. If there's a fiery explosion, I leave everything. Well, at least I leave this propane stove to my good buddy Cowboy Steve, and this bucket of rusty nails I leave to Todd Caskey. Thanks for watching. You know, in 2025, we live in a completely disposable society. And I'm not calling you guys out. I'm the worst offender. That if anything's not brand new, it just gets thrown in the trash and get something new and shiny, and go into debt to spend every penny you can. And I wonder if there's a happy medium between how they used to do it and how we do it nowadays. And that is going to come into play today with a story about these two items right here on my trailer. So I've told this story before, and we'll get into it more later, but my grandpa spent his free time when he wasn't, working 60 hours a week. He spent his time, building things, and he did a lot of salvage projects. I went with him quite a few times to tear down a barn for the lumber when I was a kid, and not only did he tear it down and save the lumber, he would save the nails, and he would straighten every nail. And I'm just impressed by that work ethic. And part of it comes from growing up in a generation where there was no option to just always buy brand new everything. Like, he grew up in the Great Depression, and you saved everything and you didn't waste anything. And I think a lot of us could use a little bit more of that. Right now, I've got some hay bales I need to deliver, but these hay bales have sat out in the weather for quite a while, and I want to show them to you. I want to ask you guys what you think about what these are worth after they've set out. While we're just chit-chatting today, I want to talk too about this side-by-side. I've been considering for a long time, do I need a side-by-side? My property's only 20 acres. Maybe it's just good exercise to walk around all the time, and that part we know is true. But I didn't know if I got one of these, would I actually use it? And I do find myself using it all the time. Like, right now, I want to know how many hay bales are down there and get a look at them. Well, it's a long walk. And it's not, the exercise is good for you, but it takes a lot of time to just walk around all day when I've got stuff to do. Speaking of salvaging stuff, that old hay wagon that I redid, the paint's held up great on it. Brand new tires, nice running gear. I need to get a deck on that and put it to use. But while we're talking, another little side note here. A lot of you guys tell me that you wish I would do more projects like that. Instead of constantly reviewing new equipment, you wish I would just set in and do a review video on rebuilding that hay wagon like I was doing. Well, the problem is, if I post one video tomorrow where I'm putting deck boards on that hay wagon, and another video the next day where I review a Chinese tool or something, that Chinese tool is going to get a lot more views on it. And I don't want to just be all about that, but if people aren't watching the videos, then that means most people aren't enjoying them, I guess. So, from you regulars, how much would you rather see me work on that hay wagon as opposed to reviewing another tractor attachment or some kind of, sponsored equipment like that? You guys know I'm baling these 3x3 round bales. I think they're a great size. They've been really popular and easy to sell. But I'm baling my property, and I'm baling the neighbor's property down there. And when I bale the neighbor's property, a third of the hay off his property is his hay. So this is the neighbor's hay. And somebody was supposed to come get it last fall, and they never came, and they never came, and they never came. And it was bothering me because what I see is this hay is going to be ruined from the weather and go to waste. And when I look at it right now, it doesn't look that bad. Let's see if I can roll one of these. Oh, we got some kind of a little critter scurried out of there. I just saw it. So the bottom of them is getting ruined. Most of the bale, I guess, is okay, but at those bottoms, that's where they start to rot and it ruins it. So if you've got any experience with stuff like this, let me know. Like, is this sellable? If these bales were worth $15 a piece when I cut them in October, now what are they worth in March when they've sat out here? So while we're loading up this hay, I thought I would throw out another story. We've got a bunch of stuff I want to show you guys and talk about today that is old, and there's a decision that has to be made about should we save this or has it lived its useful life and needs to be trashed. Another example is I've been offered a commercial mower that cost about $15,000, and I was told it's otherwise in good condition, but it needs a new engine. The engines are maybe $3,000 to $4,000, but you're taking a risk that everything else is good on it. And I think a lot of times, like a mower like this might just get thrown in the trash when there's still a lot of value to it if it was just fixed. And maybe the right person could even fix this mower up. So it is a Snapper Pro, like 800, and very unique mower that you don't see a lot of them designed like this. I think some of the Walkers, maybe some of the Kubota diesels, I've seen big Kubota diesel mowers that look like this, but it has the casters that you see on the front of a zero turn or on the back behind the engine. And the engine is still behind the driver, and the zero turn handles are in the normal place, but you have casters in front of you, you have your drive wheels, you have casters behind you. And it was a 30 horsepower Kawasaki engine, and really nice mower. It had giant knobby tires on it. Like, it almost looked like you could off-road in this thing. You know, I'm just asking myself, is it worth fixing something like that? Would anyone want to fix that? Is it going to end up in the junkyard? I hate that we're a disposable society when one thing goes wrong, but then I also hate that I don't have the expertise to tell if fixing that engine, then you're going to have 100 other problems. So I've got a decision to make. I'm going to pick that mower up, bring it back here and take a look at it. There's a chance that I sell it as damaged. There's a chance that I take it to the scrapyard, but I'm going to look it over. So I'm able to stack 26 bales onto this 22-foot trailer. They're 300-pound bales, so that means I've got about 8,000 pounds of hay on a 4,000-pound trailer. This is a 12,000-pound load, well within, my ability to haul. And, that's a lot of hay. I've got 50 bales here that need delivered, 26 on this load, so the next load will have 24. It's worked out pretty well. It's been really profitable doing these small bales. This is all off that Takakita baler that I got from Small Farm Innovations. And I think you could actually be profitable with this equipment. But there I am telling you how great I think all my sponsored equipment is. And that's one of the things I want to talk about in this video. But right now I don't have time to talk. I need to strap this down, deliver it, come back and get the other load, strap it down, deliver it. Then I'll meet you guys up at the shop and we'll have a conversation. So my grandpa passed when I was a teenager. That's been close to 30 years ago. And my uncle inherited all of his tools and all of his stuff, and they've decided to downsize into a smaller property. So at this point, they were kind of going through some of my grandpa's stuff and deciding what to do with it. And I went over and picked out some stuff I wanted for sentimental reasons, and maybe some other stuff that might be more practical and useful. And right in the middle between those two is this stove, and I've got a decision to make here. So this stove was a primary heat source when I was a kid at my grandparents' house. I can remember this stove being in use, and apparently it puts out a ton of heat. And these old things, I think, were built like a tank, and it's probably still good. But what I'm trying to decide on this, I'll have to invest some time and maybe do some research, but I'm just trying to understand what I'm looking at. This is a propane stove, not natural gas, and I have the ability to have a propane tank set in here. You guys know that I went through a bunch of different attempts to heat this shop this winter, and the primary thing I used was a wood stove, but I like to have a secondary heat source when I'm doing a wood stove because you can't always be here to run the wood stove. So basically what I'm saying is I've got nostalgia for this, and it could be useful, but I don't want to burn my shop down over nostalgia. Where's that fine line on something like this that generates heat between being past its useful life and being something I should hold on to? Let's see, this says blower speed selector. So you've got electric here, and you've got a blower, and apparently you can run it without heat. So we can plug it in now, I guess, and see if it blows air. And then you've got an exhaust here. So it's not like a ventless. This says warning, attached to fuel outlet, attached to flue outlet. Keep flue connected at all times. So you're supposed to connect an exhaust on this when you run it. And here's where you would connect your propane line. What do you guys think? Would you use that heater? Am I being nostalgic, or am I being practical and try to get some use out of something instead of making everything disposable? I don't even know how, I just don't know much about these. I don't know. But I figured this old stuff, a lot of times, it's not just a cliche. This stuff really was just built to last. So, I'm going to let this video serve as my last will and testament. If there's a fiery explosion, I leave everything. Well, at least I leave this propane stove to my good buddy, Cowboy Steve. And this bucket of rusty nails, I leave to Todd Caskey. Thanks for watching. Alright, so the fan didn't come on when I plugged it in. That's one strike against it. I'd like to use this thing, but I don't know how I safety check it and make sure this thing's not going to burn my building down. I'll give it some thought. I'll have my dad come look at it, see if we can figure this thing out. So with the stove, the question is it useful? If it's not useful, I'm just going to end up trashing it. It's too big of a souvenir, right? Now, something like this barbed wire, this is cool. I'm going to put this up, probably on my woodshed. And I know a lot of you guys think I'm never going to finish that woodshed. Well, I know it looks that way. I know it feels that way, but the woodshed will get finished. I'm getting back to it. I'm sorry I'm such a procrastinator. It just is what it is. Now this smashed up bucket full of bent nails, this I will keep. I'll probably always have these nails. Because like I was telling you earlier, my grandpa used to tear down barns. And so this happened when I was a kid, so 35 years ago. So we all know that those old barns stood for a long time. Sometimes they stood 100 years. But however long it was, this nail came out of a barn that was too decrepit to repair and was torn down 35 years ago. So this nail was probably made 100 years ago. And you can see rust on it. It's bent. It was bent whenever he tore the thing down. And I'm going to keep these as a memory of the fact that my grandpa straightened nails. And nowadays, you're not going to find a whole lot of people straightening nails to reuse them. But the other thing I'm going to do, besides setting up a little shelf for my grandpa's tools and bent nails is I'm going to take some of these, and when I go, the next time I go to work on the woodshed, I'm going to construct a beam out of some of the wood off the sawmill, and I'm going to straighten some of these nails and drive them into it to construct that beam. I'm going to use some of these nails, not structurally like the whole building's held up by these nails, but here and there, I'm going to use some of these nails in stuff that I build. And if these are memories worth preserving, I'm going to hammer them into all kinds of stuff that I build around this place. Which brings us to this shelf. Everything up here is stuff that my grandpa had saved in these cans and different things. Then I've got some of his old hammers. You know, back when you used to actually replace the handle in a hammer and drive new wedges in it. I've got some axe heads, different things. And I'm going to use those a little bit, but mainly they're going to hang on the wall in this cabinet. So this little wooden cabinet, I'm sure that these pieces of wood, they weren't new whenever Grandpa built this. This was salvaged lumber. And he retired. I worked in a manufacturing plant for 13 years. And my dad worked in that same manufacturing plant for 25 years. And our time at that plant overlapped by a couple years. And we worked together there. And when my dad started 25 years before me, my grandpa worked there. And their time working together in that plant overlapped. And my grandpa was there, I think, for 42 years or something. So we're talking about the 1940s, 1950s. He worked in the same plant that I worked in the 1990s. And when I worked there, there were a lot of these gray painted wooden cabinets hanging on the wall. People didn't have roll-around toolboxes. They had these wooden cabinets screwed to the wall, and they kept their tools in it. Now, while I was there, they said these were no longer allowed, and they had these, designated toolbox areas that were painted off with their color-coded paint for their compliance with all the regulations, and you couldn't have anything that wasn't approved tools. But I remember when that manufacturing facility, everybody had these wooden tool storage areas. And this one belonged to my grandpa. He probably hung it up in that production facility in the 1950s. And now we're going to find a place and we're going to hang it on my wall. Okay, so I hung this old cabinet up above the bathroom door here. And it might seem like a weird place to put it, but most of the wall space is occupied already in the shop with other projects that need to be probably cleaned up and organized. But there's not a lot of wall space, and I thought if I put it up here, it's not going to get messed with. It'll stay untouched unless I want, to get something out of there. So I think that works. So I want to throw one more thing out there about video types. I've done all kinds of videos. And I've got some cool stuff coming that I'm excited about. Some big projects. Maybe some off-grid stuff. Some new attachments. I got a lot planned. But I want to hear from you guys. I ask this a couple times a year. Like, what do you guys like to see from me? Do you like videos like this? I didn't accomplish a big project. I didn't show anything. I'm just like, this is a get-to-know you kind of video. Or... are you just here because you only want to see tractor reviews? Like, I could review tractors every single day and never get bored of that, personally. But I figure you guys would. So, let me know what you think. I appreciate you taking time to watch this video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.